We're very honored to be here. I am the president of Broward Bee Association for a couple years. When we first started beekeeping 7-8 years ago, there was about 10-15 people at the meeting, and there was some internal issues that we weren't comfortable with. And today I can tell you that you can come to our meetings and you can be proud to be part of that association, and we emulate this group of people. Lee and Eric and all the folks and Mr. Eaton, excuse me. So thank you very much for us being here. And what I am going to talk about today, and since I don't have my notes, I don't know what picture is going to show up, so we'll see. Oh, now I get it. Okay, now I remember my notes. So I like to do some intro. I like people to know who we are and what we are and, and why we're beekeepers. So the story I like to talk about is first of all about beekeeping, I love the passion of it, okay? It amazes me how passionate I am about bees. We're very fortunate people. We have a bunch of different things that we do in our real life that allow us to afford to be beekeepers. And one aspect of that is that for years and years and years, we always had our own garden. And if you ever heard me talk before, I use some of the same lines. So just ignore it if you've heard them before, and you don't have to laugh if you don't want to. But we always wanted to know where our food came from. It was important to us. We had a little garden, and we always would try and grow some stuff. And I was never really that successful. And about 12, 15 years ago, I'm reading about colony collapse disorder. In fact, it was David Hackenberg who was on the show. I got one of his hats. I got this from Sierra at the end of the last FSBA meeting. I bought this off of the last raffle ticket. Yeah, it's a hat. Hackenberg hat. Oh. It's a Hackenberg hat. So I'm thinking, well, I must not have a good garden because I don't have any bees, okay? So we went out and got some bees. And then we found out we were bad gardeners, okay? But the reality of it is that we ended up being really good beekeepers. And I am proud of my comfort level with bees. And I'll digress a little bit about that process, about how we got into bees. We read books and, you know, all the different articles and everything online. And, you know, that transition, if you're a new beekeeper or an old beekeeper, it's that first time thinking, oh, am I stupid enough to actually open up a box of bees, okay? And so that transition was a big deal for us. So we joined the Broward Bee Association. And we went to all the meetings. We went to the meetings on and on and on and on. And there wasn't a whole lot of activity in the group. And there was a little bit of infighting, something to that effect. And so we were really getting disappointed. And we were even to the point where, here's my first picture. We'd already built our first hives, okay? We built a couple top bar hives, and we had a couple layings, and that's on top of our roof. So I was really, really excited about that. And we kept going to meeting after meeting after meeting. And one day I got tired of it because we couldn't get anybody, and we didn't know about you guys, okay, to help us. So we come to the meeting, we're there for about 15 minutes, I get up and leave, and lo and behold, that guy shows up. And he follows me out. Now, if you're a new beekeeper, that's Sam Comfort. If you've been around here for a long time, everybody knows who Sam is. And Sam walks up to me and said, where are you going? And I said, I'm going home. And he goes, you're a little disappointed? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you have any money? And he really said that. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you want bees? And I said, yeah. And he goes, we're going to fix you up, okay? And Sam came over, and I'm going to go backwards on one of those pictures. Sam came over the next day, and if you guys know Sam, he had a shoe box with a screen on the top of it, okay? And and I still have it today. I have it in one of my warehouses. The box he brought me over 6 top bar frames to. And box is a complimentary term, okay? And so he comes over, he pulls off the top bar lid, throws in 5-6 frames, takes a piece of cardboard and makes a divider, and he pulls out of his pocket a queen, and he put a queen in a cage in there, and he put the lid on, and he emptied he opened up the second laying, shook in the whole box of bees, took out another queen, stuck her in there, and he looked at us and he said, "Don't open that for 2 weeks, okay?" And we opened it up every day for a month, okay? But now we don't open up as much as we. So that kind of puts us into the point. And one of the reasons we put so much emphasis in Broward Bee Association is our passion with bees we like to share, and our primary goal, as with half the people I see in this room, is education. And so let's see what the next picture is so I can figure that out. So we started, I'll keep Sam up there. Looks better at him than having to look at me. But part of the education process was just what you guys have over here, this apiary that Al got set up for you, okay? It's really, really nice to go to a location where you can take people in, and the first time, I always tell folks, if I get you in a hive once, if I can open up a box of bees and stand in front of you and talk to you about it and show you a frame of brood with every level of development on it, from eggs all the way to the little head popping out of a cell, and I can show you what all the different bees are doing inside there, I will make you a believer, and I will make you a beekeeper. I mean, that's the passion that I have about beekeeping. And the educational aspect of it was having a place where you could do that with a lot of folks at one time. Now, we would digress one more step back here, and we'll get into the MAPS program. And so as our education kept going, we would go to bee colleges and go to all the different bee programs that we could find. And I, through a couple other folks at the BBA, were trying to get access to places to put apiaries, okay? And I met a couple folks, and there's one gentleman, I'll mention him by name. His name is Dan Lewis. He's kind of like an underlying political guy in Broward, but I just know him as a beekeeper. And Dan would meet me at these different meetings. We talk about all the different things that were going on in beekeeping. And he'd tell me, he says, I'm not a very good beekeeper. I keep losing hives. And he went through this whole, and he says, I got a really mean hive. And I said, well, let's go over and look at it. So I went over and looked at his bees with him, and we walked up, and he's inside putting on his Gumby outfit. And I walk up, and the bees are a little cantankerous, but they're not too bad. But he walks out, and I have no idea. This guy must have put aqua valve on or something. These bees come out of this hive, and they go at him, and he is not a bee-friendly guy, okay? So I told him, I said, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what's wrong with your bees, but we're going to requeen them. And so we got some Sierra Queens, okay? And I reset that hive for him, and then we also brought over a couple nukes and got him set up, and his hives were doing much better. And about 3 months later, he comes to me and he says, you helped me out a lot. He says, I really appreciate that. And I said, no problem. And he goes, now, if I understand what you're telling me, if I keep doing this right, I'm going to have more bees at the end of the season. And I said, yes, you are. And he says, well, what are you supposed to do with them? He said, because if you're a good beekeeper and you're only allowed to have 3 hives in this little neighborhood and 3 swarm hives, and you want to be legit with your registration, what do you do? And I said, well, you're going to be giving your bees away. And he goes, there's people in the club that do rescues. What are they going to do with those bees? He goes, well, they have to have an apiary to keep them at. And he goes, what we really need, he said, is we need a lot more places to keep bees. And I said, okay. I said, where is that at? He goes, well, I just happened to sit on a commission in 1984 that took $400 million of tax money and bought a lot of preserve land in Broward County. And he goes, that's our land. He says, now the people that work in the government believe it's theirs, but he said it's ours. And I said, well, Dan, there's a little problem here. I said, we've gone to 4 or 5 different entities looking for places to set these apiaries up on public land, and we get laughed at. I said, we don't really even get close enough to the door. We just see them chuckling through the window, you know? And he goes, where's the first place you want to put one? And I said, Oakland Park. There's a community garden there. It's right by my office. And I said, it's a perfect place. And he goes, okay. And I'm not kidding you. Within an hour, I got a phone call from the people that were laughing at me, asking me, when could we set up that apiary? And then I was surprised that about 2 hours later, a nice gentleman like Mike DeLillo from Broward Regional Health Planning Council, a group of nonprofits that have way too much money, but they were welcome to share it with us, and they gave us the money to build our first MAPS program. And that's what we call it. We call it Micro Apiary Project, but it's basically using public land, okay, for public use on apiary and bee education programs. And so that's what we did. And what we've done is, it was interesting, and I'll put this up, you can read it. There's other stuff we're going to talk about, but what was really cool about this is the first one we built kind of looked like a dumpster enclosure, okay? And we didn't want it to look like a dumpster enclosure because we wanted to get people excited about it. And we'll show you some pictures in a little while about what we're doing now. But we got that first one built, and we put out a little press release, and Mr. Lewis is connected enough that some of the folks, we got some folks to show up. Well, it was more than a few folks, about 250 people showed up, and a lot of them were political folks from all over Broward County. We had 5 county commissioners, city commissioners from almost every municipality. Ted Deutsch's assistant showed up and did a spiel. We had some, one of the state senators from up here, I can't remember his name. Rader. Yeah, Senator Rader showed up. So we're in this little community garden with a bunch of hydroponics and a dumpster enclosure with bees in it, okay? And everyone's kind of like, they're amazed. Well, one thing is politicians don't like to be showed up, okay? And overnight, we went from having the one location, and we now have 10, and we have people waiting in line for more of them. And the primary focus, folks, our only goal with these programs is for education of youth, okay, and adults and beekeepers. Teresa, in the last 3 years, has probably taught more than 7,000 kids in Broward County School through these apiary programs with a relationship that we've built with Broward County Parks and Broward County School programs. We do programs on a very regular basis, way too often, with local beekeepers that want to become better beekeepers, and we cover every subject in the world that we can come up with. And, well, if you know you're a beekeeper, there's plenty of subjects. So all I did was, I'm going to jump through this stuff because this is just propaganda that we put together when we go to see a city commission and they want to give us some money to build them. And the deal we make is, we are kind of schmucks. I mean, it's not a cheap date to operate these, but we won't build them anymore. So what we did was, we go to the county, city, whatever it is, they come up with the cash, they build it, and then we put all the equipment in and manage it, and we cover the insurance costs for it currently. The intent of the program is to make it sustainable, and we're about not far from making it sustainable. And the beauty of the sustainability is, if we do get it to that point, then we can actually get grants that will help perpetuate the program past the point where it's at right now. But one of the things that I did put the last photo up, and that's, those are our goals, and they're realistic goals, and I want to talk about a couple of things on them. And it's provide safe harbor and support for primary pollinators. When we first started, we thought we were going to let anybody bring their rescue bees to these locations. But because of the contracts that we have and the insurance requirements, that's a little bit demanding. But we do maintain some quarantine locations to stick bees, and once we're happy with the quality of the bees, then we transfer them and move them into our apiary. Provide an educational platform for the community and beekeepers, that's what we want to do. Create a certificate class with local community for beekeepers, and we'll go down one more after that, talk about that a little bit more, but create a relationship with local schools, universities for credited classes as electives for their natural science program. Dr. Angel Rodriguez, he is the natural science director for Broward College, and we have a program that we're putting together that will be a certificate program within the unit, within the school, but even more so, and that's easy. Well, nothing's really easy, but when you're talking about that bureaucracy, but the certificate program is about this far from being approved, but what he's going to do is take it to the next step, and that certificate program will be submitted on a state level and will be approved as a credited class for his natural science program. And that is going to be done in conjunction with our Micro Apiary Program. So we're really, really proud of that aspect of it, that we've built that kind of relationship within the university system, that we have those kind of programs ongoing. And the next one, number 5, that's the coolest one right there, okay? This was one of Mr. Lewis's wants, and he thinks it's important if we're going to do grant studies, and that is a research platform. Well, we have a current FAU doctoral student, or doctoral candidate, that is using our Micro Apiary programs for her research. So not only are we educating kids, we're providing programs for all anybody that wants to become a beekeeper, but we're actually doing local research, you know. And if you go to an FSBA meeting and you talk about where your money goes from Tallahassee, it doesn't get much past Gainesville when it comes to bees, okay? And so if we have programs here within our South Florida, and I consider Palm Beach, Dade, Broward County brothers and sisters, okay? We're siblings. If we can have these universities doing research, not only are they doing research, within the programs that we're providing funding for, but we're also maybe can help direct what they're going to be researching, okay? And that is a really, really important aspect, especially if you are commercial beekeepers like so many of you guys are. So that one, number 5, I think is the coolest thing right there. The sustainability is, well, it's going to have to be financially sustainable. And then the last one is Build It Through Florida. We have two young ladies in Miami that we're helping to expand the program in Miami. A guy from VBA, the founder, Leo Gasser, has built one and has it at a school in Boca. Dave Westerfelt, before he left, told me that South Carolina and North Carolina, Department of Interior and Department of Environmental something sustainability contacted him, and they in turn contacted us, and we sent them the protocols for what we're doing in this program, and they asked us for permission to emulate it. It's like, it's not rocket science, you just have to build a box that looks like a dumpster enclosure, okay? Now, you have to understand the dumpster enclosure mentality. Everyone knows what our best management requirements are. Best management requirements on public land are a little bit more demanding. Put a 6-foot flyaway barrier around anything, and you can pretty much put a beehive in a playground. I'm being facetious, but we've taken it a step further, and we've made them, and I'll show you some pictures. So that's I don't know what the next picture is, but okay. One of the things, I didn't make this yellow. You need a lens on your computer there, but one of the things we did Broward Bee Association has a public apiary. That was one of our kind of selling points. So if you're an HOA, a condo, or you were renting and your landlord wouldn't let you use it, we had a place where you could keep bees, okay? But what happened was, it was on a farm, probably the last hunk of agriculture in the middle of Broward County, 298 acres in Coconut Creek. The Johns family had a really nice farm. The dad died, and about an hour later, the kids sold it. And that's pretty accurate. And that 300 acres is now going to be developed, and but we had a lot of bees there, and everyone thought it was a great place. But I think, not making light of it, but I think a lot of people bought 5 acres in Loxahatchee thinking that was a really great place to keep bees too. You stick too many bees in any one location and you don't have the right food, it doesn't always work. Well, the Johns family grew peppers and tomatoes, so it really, that place didn't fare well as far as management went. So one of our important aspects of is that those locations, I think there's 12 on there because the 2 orange ones are being negotiated right now. The yellow ones are private, the red ones are public. And those are apiaries, and we put a 2.5-mile radius on every one of our apiary locations because we don't want to have anybody tell us that we're saturating a market, okay? And we don't want to do anything that would displace our brother beekeepers that live in those areas. So that's what that picture shows. We have some spaces. The yellow ones are private. 2 of them are corporations, and one of them is a hotel, and they don't like people knowing that, so we don't disclose that. The other ones are Snyder Park in Fort Lauderdale being negotiated. One's Treetops Park. The other one is Heritage Park. Lauderdale by the Sea, our Oakland Park Apiary. Coral Springs, that was funded by the Rotarians. And then Tradewinds Park. And then we have Deerfield Apiary, which is part of the city. And we just hooked up a new one with 2 young ladies that are teachers at North Broward Prep. They're going to put one as part of their program there. So, this is our first dumpster enclosure. I wish the pictures were better. It really was just 4 6-foot high wooden, yeah.
Can we turn off that front light?
Oh.
Do they stay in that enclosure?
Thank you. Last time I say anything nice about Al, okay? So, what we did was we built this thing, and it looked like a dumpster enclosure, and I was really disappointed. So, what?
That's to keep the bears out.
There you go. Well, I put windows on it, okay? And the windows were a nice touch because it allowed the public to come up to it without having to open it up. And it still looked like a dumpster enclosure. So, and also, this is a pretty active community garden. An interesting story. We've had very few sting incidences, at least reported, but about a week after I built this and it was approved and I had the big hoopla with all the politicians, the person that approved the zoning for this has a garden at this garden, and she's the director of zoning for Oakland Park, and she got stung. So she was really cool about it. So I took the 6-foot barrier and I now make it an 8-foot barrier, and I make it out of the lattice so it looks a little bit nicer. And then this one, we call this one of our pollinator suites. We put in a butterfly garden and also bee-friendly plants all the way around it. And if you look at this, you'll see next picture, we put these little stumps there, and the kids use those to stand up and see in the windows. And we also have those all around the place so that we're teaching classes, the kids have places to sit, and it makes it look a little bit nicer. So that was the very first one that we built, and this is what they're looking like now. They're looking really cool. There's a girl at Deerfield sustainability office that came up with the idea with the octagon windows. And so hexagons, thank you.
Don't make any mistakes around here.
That's why I'm not talking about bees. So they look a lot nicer now, okay? And what we do is we put an 8-foot wide door on one end, and that way when we're doing classes, we can open up the whole end, and we can have people come in, and it gives really, really good access for people to get inside. And then the lower windows and the upper windows work out fine for the kids, and also the Broward County Park Systems installs mats for ADA accessibility. So they're ADA accessible and they can see people. And we've had people in wheelchairs come up and and kids in the program. So it worked out pretty good.
How big are the structures?
Those structures, they're like 12 by 16. One of them is 10 by 20. We set them up for anywhere from 8 to 15 hives. What our real intention is, everyone knows there's no money in honey, right? Okay, so there is money in bees. And so what we've been doing is we've been using the apiary for splits and making lots and lots of nukes, and we're selling off nukes on a commercial basis to help offset some of our costs. And if you look at the numbers, out of the 10 units, we'll probably can pull about $4 to $5 grand a year out of each one of them with the education and the nukes. So with 50,000, it's a little bit light, but we're about this close to being able to make that sustainability program by hiring a full-time beekeeper as an apiary manager within the program. So that's the real gig. Excuse me?
Who's managing them right now?
Look at it, yeah. Her, me. We do. Yeah, we watch. We get a lot of help. I mean, this summer, Dr. Ellis does a summer bee class out of his office in UF, and it's online. So part of it is you have to shadow a beekeeper for 2 days. And we did 4 kids out of, they're not kids, well, yeah, they are kids. I got a granddaughter that just went to UF, so they are kids. And so we get help that way, and we get a lot of support and help in the program. Hang on. So anyways, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to dwell on this, but there is a lack of land, okay, and use. But if you really do need some space for bees and you want to get involved in the Micro Apiary Program, you call me up and I'll get you fixed up, okay? I can't promise you the politics, but because of the fact that there's 10 of these in place right now, 4 or 5 more being negotiated or permitted, and the folks at State of Florida are really happy with the program. I was concerned when David Westerfelt left, but Brandy's on board with it. She likes the program a lot, and we're getting good support from Carmen also. So getting the apiary approved, the process is pretty simple. You go to a city, say I want an apiary, you find the right location, and it's not that hard. And then they write a letter to the state, and the state says you can do it, and once they do that, you get a building permit. The apiary enclosures are hurricane rated or rated to the hazard wind loads. So all we did was keep the keep the hives inside and tie them down. But one thing you want to look at is state, county, and municipal parks are the second largest owners or operators of public land in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade County. Okay, those guys have a lot of land. The only other person that has more is the third one down there, highways and bridge maintenance. That's mosquito control. All that land around all the roadways, all belongs to them. South Florida Water Management, no, they have all kinds of different districts. But what I've found is, I will digress again, I do this all the time, but went to the Florida State Beekeepers meeting last year up in Gainesville associated with the Bee College. And I didn't know what to expect. And it was really exciting. It was a really cool aspect of that program, was that you're in a room with people that are like me, that have a few hives and is excited about beekeeping, and you're sitting next to somebody that has 5,000 hives, and then there's people there that dwarf 5,000 hives, and you start having conversations with them. You want to know something? They have the exact same concerns about bees and beekeeping as you do if you have one stinking hive, okay? They want their bees to be happy and healthy and productive, and they're as passionate about it as you are. They may achieve it in a different manner. Don't judge until you've been there, okay? But they still have that same passion. And one of the things at that meeting was they were talking about public land. And we have bees on a lot of public land that's not on those lists, okay? And there's a lot of public land available. And what they did up north was they negotiated some deals either with South Florida, with water management or bridge and maintenance or something. But what they did was they put together a deal where they leased the land, put it out for bid, one guy won it, and then that guy sold it off in parcels to his beekeeping buddies, okay? And I was thinking about that, and I really didn't know how I felt about it at first, okay? But I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, individually, it's a lot easier. I'm not kidding you. Make a relationship with somebody. Drive down the road, you see a hunk of land and there's a canal on it. There's always a sign on it that says, "Do not enter," with a phone number, right? Well, call the number. And, and you might end up find out that the third assistant district manager for that particular part of Broward South District Water Management carries a lot of frigging weight and has a lot of autonomy, okay? And all of a sudden, you've got 47 acres of land that you can put bees on, okay? Now, that's a little an exaggeration, but these exist everywhere. There's a lot of places to put bees in Broward County. And I put those lists on. I wasn't going to put down golf courses because I was afraid Sierra was going to be here. But golf courses, you guys still have some farmland. Miami has a lot of farmland, But, when you look at a map, though, Broward County is the most urbanized county in the state, bar none. Okay, the 300 acres that the Johns family sold off only represented 1% of their registered farmland, but that's still, I think they only have 8,500 acres of registered farmland in Broward County. The rest of it is either going to be built or is already or being built on. Hotels is a good place. Okay, if you want a place to put bees, it's becoming really cool. Hotels like bees on their roof. So if you only have 3 or 4 hives and you don't want them on your roof, go put them on a hotel roof and take care of them. The hotel gets good face for it, and then you don't have to worry about having any bees on your property. But and also private schools. So the only reason it is hard to steal them off a roof. The only reason I brought this up was I'm not so sure. Watching the politics about beekeeping, because beekeeping is so different from county to county to county. Part of the reason they had problems with the tax codes and all the different things is because what we deal with for tax is in Broward for having bees on our property is 100% different than what you guys have, and it goes through the entire state. And I use that mentality to think about private land options. And the reason why is what works for Broward County isn't going to work for Palm Beach County. And if you live in Palm Beach County, you know where these little enclaves are. Take advantage of them and make relationships. What? Oh, thanks. Does it sound that bad? Thanks. So anyways, this is my favorite picture, okay? We went up to the bee college, and Jamie Ellis is prancing around, and he's telling us how excited he is about his bee college, okay? And that one costs $3.5 million, okay? And we'll build you one of those for $7,500. And we came up with that picture before they built that, so we'll take credit for that. But, you know. By the way, he didn't think that was funny. I'm not kidding you. Huh? Well, he'll get over it. Let's see what else. So I always finish off my talks by at the BBA meetings, and I always say, "What the heck is this?" And so that's a picture. You can tell it's bees, and I just took a picture through the hole in that little sewer cover. So that's what the heck that is. I got a couple more. This is a cool picture for the folks that are doing rescues. We use our little infrared cameras. You know, they used to cost $15,000, $20,000. You can buy one for about $500 now. And unfortunately, I didn't take the pictures lining up. But if you line up the boards, you can follow the hive. And if you're ever in a place where you're not sure where the bees are, but you know where they're going in, and anyone that's done rescues before knows that they've been in that situation, and if they say they haven't, they're lying. I know where the bees are because this is where they're going in, and you open it up and there are no bees there, okay? You know, and you're like, and then you look kind of, but that infrared camera, buy it from FLIR, it's $500. It connects right to your iPhone, and you can see the outline exactly that hive, and you can see that new comb on the right-hand side is that little drone and emergency honeycomb over there, and it's a little bit lighter, but the primary hive right there, you can see the temperature differential, and I think that's a cool thing, and it's a nice tool.
The price on those things a little bit.
Oh yeah, they're reasonable.
Price them out there like $5,000.
Yeah, no, you can buy that. It's made by FLIR, and the software. Everything on photographs is software driven. The software is so good right now, it's unbelievable. It creates the coolest pictures. And whenever I see stuff when I'm beekeeping, I turned over a little box the other day, and I saw that, and I took that picture. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that make you love bees? I mean, it's the coolest thing. Look at it. And you know how long they took them to make that? Yeah. About 4 days, 5 days. And
everybody asks me, how did they make that white stuff? Where did that come from? Was it there?
Mm-hmm. They got it at Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, if you want to talk to us about after the meeting about the Micro Apiary Program, you won't shut me up. Lee was yelling at me for about the last 5 minutes that I'm done, so.
No, I wasn't.
All right, thank you very much. Boom. Thanks.